I had never seen either of these movies. I enjoyed the hell
Me
out of this
neither.
one in
Me
particular.
neither.
Good.
Me neither.
What was the
They're
movie
very good.
what was the movie that Jim picked a year ago where at the end it's like the guy doesn't want to rat out his army, like it's POWs or something, and the guy doesn't want to rat out his buddy.
King
Like
Rat?
by the end,
King
they
Rat.
literally
King
the
Rat
other
with,
one.
the other one was
Stalag
Stalag
17.
17,
Oh yeah.
which is
No,
Billy
it wasn't. It
Wilder.
was like by the like there was so many like literally like Christ-like metaphors going on.
that one. Oh,
You know what I'm talking about, right?
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Ascension.
That movie, this reminded me of that. I'll just say, thank fucking God that this guy shows up to inject some light and life and energy into the proceedings, and then he disappears, and we never see him again. And it's just like, I mean, I know this won Best Picture. I want to know what it was up against. Was it Bonnie and Clyde that year?
66.
No, this is the year before Bonnie and Clyde.
It's a lot of like, I get that it's all about the machinations.
Both of these are right on the cusp of old Hollywood and new Hollywood.
I can't.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with the premise, but even though we know it's fucking happened. And then at the end he fucking dies, and then like there's this title crawl where it just goes boom, 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 boom. All the other people, and they're dead too. The end. Goodbye.
Except for Richard Rich, the awful lawyer.
Yeah, the fucking snake gets to live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he died in his bed.
It's felt like
They're all the guy you hate the most. He's okay. He died in his bed.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Jim just said, yeah, but an alien burst out of his chest.
Well, that's true.
Oh yeah, that's true.
This whole thing is so.
I mean, like 3 decades
glorious
later, but yeah.
bastard. This whole fucking thing was so joyless and stiff, and I don't know. Like,
God, I totally enjoyed it, Chris, and I felt like it was uplifting.
No,
I thought it was.
I think
it was
he's standing by his
somebody
principles.
standing up for his own.
Well, Robert
principles.
Shaw is so
Exactly.
entertaining.
That's what I enjoyed about it.
Yeah,
Shaw is so
I
entertaining.
guess.
And I
By
thought
the
he
time-
was great.
But by the time it gets to when he's incarcerated, and then it gets to the trial, which granted isn't the bulk of the picture, but it isn't.
No.
It's a good. It's a
That's
good.
where there was good
It's a
dialogue.
great trial.
But that's when it starts to hit you.
It's solid,
where
but
you-
it was very eat your vegetables 2 hours for me.
Okay, sure. Both of these are, in my opinion, because these
No.
are like, and
No.
I'm coming from a theater
No.
person. Like, both of these are plays that were adapted into
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah.
So,
and
which
it
is
really shows at some point.
it does show. It's very
But
hard.
This one less,
B-
because I think this is still cinematic. There's a lot.
I agree with Scott, and
Yeah.
we'll get to the other one.
Yeah,
But the end of this picture, I really was emotional. I felt it.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
me
I
too.
know, right?
Me
I
too.
would like to see
Stone
the
face.
play, because the play has a character called the Common Man. It's sort of like Our
What's-
Town. There's a narrator for the entire
Oh,
thing.
interesting.
And
Oh,
they
that would be
totally
an interesting
got rid
element.
of that character.
And they had to like parse out what
That
Common
might
Man
be
said.
really good here, actually.
Yeah.
They had to parse those lines out to the other characters.
Into the other characters.
There you go,
yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
But there,
Literally,
I mean,
this
I
whole
was
fucking
so-
movie wouldn't exist if this some bitch didn't want to get divorced.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of this bullshit is
All of
because
it.
this
Well, you know,
motherfucker
this is a
wants
lot
to get
of- a lot of
divorced
this
and
is-
Also, the
fucking
Church
won't
of,
let him.
But it-
also the existence of the Church of England.
well,
Yeah.
I'm stating the obvious here, but it really is a beautiful example of someone, a character that has real integrity and morals
Yeah.
to the degree of. I mean, this is Captain Obvious here, but it's not depicted this beautifully oftentimes.
I
right?
agree.
Like someone who really is going to be like, hey, I'm not going to fucking bend the knee. I'm not going to do. I'm
Right.
gonna
That would
I'm
happen.
gonna stand for
They give
this.
him opportunity
And
after
Jared-
opportunity to turn around and say, support your king. Do it. It's easy. You should just
Right.
do it. Sign this. Do
You're
this.
right.
Yeah.
You can still believe whatever you want.
Exactly.
And
And
this
he
beautiful
never
defense of that. It's like if I take an oath, I'm holding my own life in my hands.
Yes.
You know,
And,
my
and
soul.
he's so smart that he's right. He's like, I am still my king's servant.
Yeah, right. It was great.
100%.
It's so
I
beautifully
just
written.
choose to not do this.
It's beautifully written, and Schofield's really good. And I'll tell you what
And
got to me was
Go
when
ahead.
he had been locked up in the tower, and then they let his family in.
Oh, I know.
Right.
What a great scene.
That
what
really
a great
that,
scene.
That wrung a couple of tears out of me.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
My
it's
God,
it's
so
a
good.
beautiful scene.
And his wife goes through all these emotions of like being
Oh.
angry with him for not
She's so
compromising.
good.
Yeah.
Right. She's
She's great.
She's a great character and a great actress.
All of these
Yeah.
actors are phenomenal.
just an amazing-
Phenomenal.
Meanwhile, Chris.
Yeah, we know, Chris. Thank you for putting
It
that
was
up.
great to see number 2 doing something.
Well, even no, Robert Shaw is phenomenal in
Leo
this.
Like,
McKern.
honestly, if not for that 5-10 minutes that he's in it, like I would have liked this movie a hell of a lot less. But he's so good, and he's so like
He's so good, but he's a necessary
gets off the
foil to
boat
everything
and,
else that's
like,
happening.
Right.
Or he's like a
looks around.
necessary,
He's the
Here,
face of
we
what's
never see him
happening
again.
to him.
Yeah.
yeah, and then the rest of it is about real substance, right?
Yeah.
And Shaw is providing.
Fucking guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got Orson.
And also,
Jabba the Hutt.
Orson is just superb.
I dare you.
He's
to
really good. I was sad that he was not in it longer because
Yeah.
I know. I wanted to
That's
come back.
the
I
thing.
wanted to come back.
Oh, but John, you're making my point. The people that are the most fun to watch in this movie, Robert
barely-
Shaw and Orson Welles,
are
are
barely
barely
in it.
in it.
Barely in
What
it,
you're
yeah.
left with are these statues. And I'm sorry, I know he got
yes.
the Academy Award, but I
You're
did not.
wrong.
You're not.
if
You're
he
listen.
gets
I
got
understand
this
what you're
guy.
saying,
Chris
but I
is
think
Got
wrong.
rid of the ass.
I
Schofield
don't-
got the best actor for this. That's
he did.
I-
He did.
Yeah.
Listen,
Well,
I don't
no,
think
but
you're
he got
wrong. I don't think you're wrong, Chris. But what happens is it's almost like a long game.
Mhm.
So it's not like, oh, this performance is like immediate and happening. What happens, I think, in this whole picture is you have to play the long game with these characters.
Right.
And so if you go with them on the entire journey, by the end, that's when it hits you. You realize that you've been watching brilliance the entire time that may have seemed like boredom in the beginning, but it becomes something so beautiful
Because
and so important.
it's about this character standing on his principles and
and
not
his family
compromising.
too.
How do you
His
portray
family
that?
too.
And how do you portray
I mean,
that?
by the time, like John, you said, when they let him into the tower, to the jail cell at the end, when William comes in, who is the kid that he was like, you can't marry my daughter. He's like, I love you now.
Yeah.
Like he gives him a hug.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fucking, you're like, this is winning. This is amazing.
Also, there's definitely modern parallels watching this thing. It's like a lot of the story is about Henry's henchmen. When they make H on their coach,
Toadies.
doing
Right, they all walk
No,
around
his
with
bidding,
double H.
bending the law to suit him.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
This poor fucker
Well,
is like
you
the
see it
victim.
when
Leo
That's the
McKern.
Oh
when
my
he jumps off
god,
the boat.
Oh no, we didn't even talk about that guy. Like
Leo?
that
Leo McKern.
Oh, Leo,
actually
number
some
2.
of that shit.
Yes, the
some
best
of that
number
shit
two.
I actually
Yeah.
listen.
Well,
I'm not totally dunking on this thing. I found a great deal of it entertaining,
Mhm.
and I did find that the to the level that everybody was willing to bend to deal with the fact that Henry wants to get a divorce.
But I'll give you, it's not super exciting, dude. I'll give you that, Chris.
But
It's
no,
not super
but-
exciting, dude.
It's
No.
well,
But-
it's there's
Hey,
just little
Henry
stuff
wants to
that-
get a divorce.
Henry wants to get a divorce.
Trump wants to say he won 20 in 2020. Same
Right.
fucking deal, man.
You know, I was
And
going to bring
he's
up
gonna
that fucking guy.
continue doing
Yeah.
Or
this
he wouldn't even
for-
concede that
A
he
lot of
lost
henchmen
2016.
Trying to work
Like,
very hard to make it happen for their boss.
Yes,
That's what's
Yeah.
going on in this.
that I thought all that was really good.
When Robert Shaw did show up and basically acted like a kid, like a spoiled little kid.
until he didn't.
You know what?
Yes.
You know what sucks is
he did both, I think. He
He
acted
turned on
like
a dime and got real mean real quick.
Yeah. Well, there's
Yeah.
that scene that we're talking about that I actually used in the preview where he says, we haven't thought about it enough. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great line.
Before that happens, you can see that he actually has real affection for Thomas More.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He
Oh, yeah.
Before he want anything, more than anything, he wants to be on his side.
And that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
it's so important to him to have his approval.
Yeah,
Right.
I know. It's
Yeah.
like it turned on a dime,
But
man.
Just
Shaw
take
Shaw was so dynamic
Yes.
in this
Thank
role.
you.
I
Yeah.
mean, Shaw could, he was,
And childlike.
Yes.
yeah,
Childish.
Pettiness.
Henry himself, right?
but also
And that-
kingly,
that
but
brings
also kingly.
comparisons to a
Yeah, yeah.
Like
certain
he was
contemporary,
everything.
Yes.
When he
He
gets
had
off the
like,
politician.
boat, when he gets off the boat and gets in the mud, and everybody behind him's like, "Oh fuck!"
and he
fuck." He's
laughs.
got like, and then
And
but
he
it takes
laughs,
a
and then
second.
they all start
He
laughing.
But then they all
Yeah,
start jumping
yeah.
into the mud.
He has to say it's okay, and then they
First
all
it's
say,
like,
yeah,
I'm gonna
No,
look
no,
really
your head does
mad
not
and
have to
freak
come off.
everybody out. Ah, it's fine.
yeah, exactly. It was great.
That was great. I loved all that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
The detailing, the sets were great. The locations were amazing. I thought some of this, the lighting is a little bit, some of it's kind of flat 60s stuff, but some of it,
I actually kind of think both of these pictures don't look great in terms of cinematography. I know it was the time, but
yeah, they use a
it's
lot
hard.
of
That one behind
You
you.
can't fault
they use a
the
lot of hard key
cinematographer
lights and a
for
lot
the
of stuff, and it's kind of
second
like
movie,
of the era,
Douglas
but
Slocum.
some of this stuff like this is like Caravaggio. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I was.
Sure.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth, Scott.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah,
some of this
that
stuff
looks
is
like a
gorgeous.
painting.
No,
That looks
But I
like
still,
a painting.
this was a tricky time for cinematography. I think that in the 70s it got, a lot better. It's a weird time between like some of the beautiful black and white cinematography in the early 60s that people were still doing. And then, mid to late 60s, a lot of these things look, kind of not great, but still it's all properly exposed. It's all,
yes, it's
there's nothing wrong with it.
Very studio, very
competently lit, but not artfully
but it doesn't look, it doesn't look attractive.
Technicolor, but it was in
No, you see a lot of places they're talking. You see the key light and the rim light. It's like it's the 3-point lighting is very obvious in a lot of places.
You're right, Jim. You brought up the cinematographer of the other film.
Slocum.
Slocum. I mean, that
Slocum,
movie, the photography itself looks much better than this film, and it's only a couple of years later. So it's
2 years later. Yeah, exactly.
And I think it probably has to do with the production. It had a bigger.
Well, it's a better. Well, this is more like if I can be a little maybe general, but this is more like Carl T. Dreyer, and then the other film we're going to get to is a little more fleshed out, right? This is a little more minimalist.
Which is what I really like about this movie.
Me too. I actually prefer that. We'll get into it, but I prefer this to.
At times, for sure you're watching a movie, and some of the dialogue.
I love the Passion of Joan of Arc. Vampire. I like when it's like I'm paying attention to the people, not the background, but the background still serves its purpose. That's this picture.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I thought it was just brilliant. And
listen, this was when you picked this, like, oh fuck, those are two movies I probably should have seen by now.
Oh,
right?
Same.
And I think they actually complement each other really well.
Yeah,
same.
And like I said, with I'm not here. Like I'm definitely like north of flat. I didn't find him, and I know he got the Oscar. I didn't find him particularly.
Well, Schofield gets the Oscar and the picture. It was Best Picture that year.
Yeah, it was Best Picture that
year,
and a couple of others.
This was an American
Academy Award.
It was 6.
This was an American finance film. It was directed by an American.
Yeah.
Right, Zinnemann, who was blacklisted, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, one of the things about this is that you don't see in many movies of this era people talking about their souls, and they're talking about sin. They're talking about if we do this, I'm going to hell, making these decisions. That's the under theme of this entire thing. It's like Thomas More did what he did because he was like deathly afraid of making a wrong decision, going to hell.
But also,
Henry VIII didn't give a fuck about it. He just wanted what he wanted, right?
That's probably maybe that's one of the reasons why
spiritual aspect is there, but it's like it's power. It's a powerful subcurrent in this entire thing.
For Chris,
that's all lost on me. And that's probably one of the reasons why it didn't work.
There it is. Okay.
But I wonder if this, and I could be wrong, but I wonder if this is like one of the more earlier examples too of this kind of narrative format where, it's like we see these all the time now where there's these big grand ending scenes with a bunch of a big populace of people, and somebody has to make some grandiose statement, and even though they're being sort of like thwarted by everyone around them, they have the actual truth, right? And they're trying to expel it.
Braveheart.
What is this film remind you?
Yeah, I mean, like even something that I think is a really terrible film, like The King's Speech or something. It's like that kind of thing where you have these characters that are, I'm going to tell you the real truth in front of the whole populace of who are against me.
You know what this film is? You know what this film?
I could be wrong, but it seems like it's an early example and a good one of that.
Yeah, you know what this film is like? It's like, remember the movie Braveheart?
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
It's
a lot like Braveheart. I mean, it's like,
well, yeah. I mean, like, except
I love Braveheart. Are you kidding me? Oh my god.
But it's a guy with his own truth and his own way of
It's like, even though you won, I win.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They hit it's a little more gruesome at the end of this film.
For sure.
Oh, sure. But you can't help but respect Moore here because he stuck with
He's stuck with his
and everything he says in that courtroom is right. It's correct.
Exactly right.
There's nothing that.
Yeah, and it takes the John Hurt character to come in and just fucking lie through his teeth under oath.
But he even bests
so
him.
Long, they just
and he even bests him in that moment, dude. That's
really fun watching like Baby John Hurt and a couple other.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you notice like one of the best parts at the end though is like when Moore's character he still gets John, like knowing that he's still gonna die, but he gets him.
Yeah, he does.
He gets him. He stops him and he says,
that a person
"Yes." He looks at it. He looks at his medallion and he says, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh."
But
I mean, he said he
oh right.
Oh,
you did this for whales.
Wow.
For whales, for a fucking whale. You did this to get up in the world for you.
Yeah.
Did you notice how? I mean, so much of his, so much of his character is delineated where he is by his clothing. It's like every time you see him, he's wearing nicer clothes than before.
He started with
says that. He
started with the M
nice gown.
More.
Nice gown.
And it's like, it was super nice H for Henry.
Yeah.
So
I also my favorite set piece, going back to what Scott was talking about, is where he's talking with his to-be son-in-law about knocking down all the laws in England so you can get at the devil, and then when the devil turns around and there's no laws to protect you, what are you going to do?
Right? That was a hell of a speech.
It's a great scene.
That was a great scene. Yes,
I love that son-in-law character too because he was such a hothead. You know, it was like he was just he had that sort of young man.
He's the heretic. He's the heretic.
He's got that angry young man energy.
He does.
And
that's why I love at the end. He's like, gives him a hug.
Okay.
He gives him a big hug, dude.
Yeah.
I love that.
Something they didn't mention in the film, they do mention that after he was beheaded, his daughter took the head with her. It's actually buried in the Roper.
She kept it until she died.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So it's buried with his wife.
She kept the head.
And his son-in-law's family.
Oh wow.
There's no
a Roper, right.
Well, they put it on a spike out in front for a long time.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
that's in the voiceover at the end, like 50 days or something.
Imagine going to the Ropers for like dinner. It's like, hey, you want to see Thomas More's head? Check it out.
Hey, here it is.
All right. And any concluding thoughts, Jim? You're the host.
No, it's just I was thinking back to John was talking about recording things off the TV with tape, just audio tape. And this is one of the ones I did. So I found myself mouthing a lot of the dialogue, even after,
Wait, you used to listen to this just for fun, just like the audio.
Holy Grail.
Yeah.
I've seen this film
before we had VCR.
I'm not quite dead yet.
I've seen this film like 4 times.
I think I go for a walk.
This is one of my favorite costume dramas.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad you picked it because it's actually one of my favorites.
Cool.
And I really like Schofield too. I've seen he wasn't in a lot of stuff, but he's pretty good.
I think he was in that thing I picked with McKellen, the Henry, the Edward, what was it? The
Richard III?
I think he's in Richard III.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, like he showed up
the McKellen picture?
McKellen thing.
Yeah, like he was really old at that point, but yeah.
A horse, my kingdom for a horse.
That film is crazy compared to
anyway.
This.
So
okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, okay. I guess we can go to the
stuff.
cards. Let's go to the cards.
I mean, I'm probably here.
Okay.
I think it's a good picture. Thumbs up.
Pretty good.
I think we worked Chris a little bit.
We did a little bit.
It's a good picture.
I'm all for standing up for your principles, just not for fucking churches. So
I know it.